happens when you're just getting started in real estate and every single thing that could go wrong happens?
That's exactly what we're going to talk about today on the Unreal Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus.
And I'm Jaquita. And today we have Francisco with us.
Hey, good morning.
Yeah.
Morning.
Francisco is a realtor on my team. Well, not my team, but we're co-workers on the same team. And we just brought him on to tell a little bit about himself and tell his crazy, unreal, but real estate story.
Yeah, man. So we like to kind of get started with a little bit of background on you. So how did you actually get started in real estate? What attracted you to it? How long have you been a realtor and all that kind of good stuff?
Yes, tell us all about Francisco.
So my mom is actually in new home sales. And so forever, like, she's been doing that. She's like, you need to get your license, you need to get your license. But I worked in healthcare for about over 10 years. So I'm like, yeah, maybe one day, I just never took it too seriously until I actually bought our second home. So when we're buying our second home, I didn't like my real estate agent too much. I ended up doing most of the work myself.
I hope they don't see this.
Right? So, I looked at the houses, did this and that. Like, I mostly did everything. So I was like, man, you know what? I could do this. And I was, like, attracted to it. It was fun to me. Like, looking at houses, touring, the finances, everything about it was attractive to me. So this was 2019. So right pre-COVID.
Right.
So we closed on our house. I got started on all the classes and everything like that. And then as COVID hit was me coming into real estate.
Gotcha.
I didn't realize we were like that close in
we were
time
almost
frame.
about the same time.
Yeah, I got licensed the end of 2020, and I learned something new. I didn't know your mom was in new home sales. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, she's been doing it forever. Different builders, and so, I guess the same thing with real estate. You have really good months, and then all of a sudden something like COVID hits, everything can slow down or speed up. So
Peaks and valleys.
Yes.
I mean,
Gotta be able to adapt.
Yeah, I like to tell everybody we got in at the perfect time. I know a lot of people said it was really tough, and it was. But once it started going, like the end of 2020, beginning of 21, I mean, we were rocking and rolling. Like,
and I feel like ever since I got started, it was just like hot.
Yeah.
Hot. If you get a listing, it's gonna sell. So
for sure.
like I jumped in, and it was like, get listings, and then off those listings comes buyers. So
Yeah.
I think it was like 2 months or so where it was like nobody knew what was going to happen. Everybody was like fearful, like if I buy this house, am I going to be upside down? And then all of a sudden, what was that 2% interest rate dropped, and then it was on from there.
What
After
was that?
it was...
That was like May or something, May of 2020. Like right around summertime, people realized, okay, COVID is here, it's gonna stay, and lenders realize it as well. It's like, okay, drop the rates, and everybody like flocks to all the homes. So yeah, it was good times for a good 2 years there. But I mean, still good, and especially with you, I mean, your business is good. I'm on the same team as you, so and I think the theme for the last few podcasts that we've done has been like social media, and like. You're amazing at it. Like, I mean,
I really don't like it at all. Like, I really have to.
Everybody keeps saying
what I do, but I put myself in a situation like I'm just like, hey, Jaquita, I'm gonna do the podcast, and I don't think about it until boom, it's here, and then you just do it. So I kind of schedule myself. Hey, I'm gonna do these videos or do this or do that, and then like. You just have to do it.
Nice.
Even if you don't like it, you just wake up and do it.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people have been saying too. Like
that's the common thing.
That is the common thing. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. And I mean, even your sister-in-law, that she taught us that like it doesn't have to be perfect. Just post it.
Yeah.
Just post it. And I mean, his social media, I know you probably haven't really seen it, but it's like high quality stuff. Like the luxury stuff for sure.
Nice.
Love it.
Even my wife has a business, and I'm sitting there taking the videos, and then she's like, oh, I don't like this, I don't like that. I'm like, man, it looks good. Let's put it out there, and then it brings people, it brings customers.
Yeah,
for
it
sure.
does.
For sure.
Any content is better than
not posting at all. And I'm still, me, I'm still learning. I mean, I like to just do things like in the moment.
I do too.
I have to get out of that. I have to actually start capturing the moment. Like you see, even before we got started, Marcus had his phone out, and I'm like, oh, I hate when you do that. Like I need to actually start doing
it when it's unscripted and you're not posing. It's just like a genuine picture.
Yeah, but it's just for me like it's new. I typically don't do stuff like that, but after hearing it from so many people, now it's like. Just do it. If it sucks, it sucks. You'll get the feedback. your artists will tell you, they'll correct you quick, and then you just adapt to it. But you have to do it. We're just seeing how necessary it is now.
Yeah.
So
going back to like, especially like when you first started and like that 2-year time frame when it was like super hot, and I know you had listings and I mean some buyers and stuff, and then you still were in the healthcare industry. Like, how was it balancing all of that?
So I guess my big thing starting out was like I joined a big brokerage and they were like, tell everyone you're in real estate. So that was number one. So I went out there and like basically like drove up my business. I went and I did door hangers, I did door knocking, like open houses, anything and everything to get that business going. And so with being in healthcare, I'm used to talking to people, helping people out. I just transitioned that into real estate, and then you just have to go out there and be aggressive. Like, especially your first year, just starting out, you can't just like sit back and relax and wait for people to come to you. You have to like get out there. And I had a lot of success just door knocking. Like, or even if they didn't answer, I would drop a little door hanger, and I think I spent $50 on like 100 door hangers. Yeah, I got a listing off one of those, and then off that got a buyer, and so it ended up like being $6,000 or something. You know, I'm definitely doing this again. So
for sure.
Try to figure out what worked best for me, and then just keep on doing that.
Yeah. I know you do. You still do like open houses and stuff. I don't do them as much, but. Actually, recently, I got, like, my first listing from an open house. I'm like, these things really, if you keep working it works, right?
And, I mean, they tell you, do open houses, do door knocking, do this and that. Do these events. And you're like, that makes sense. But when you actually get in the hang of doing them, like doing it, it works.
Yeah,
really
you start gaining that momentum, and actually it starts, like, paying off eventually. So,
And being consistent with it, too, because... I know for us, so we've been in real estate for, what is this, a year 11 for us? And we transitioned into private money lending. And for whatever reason, we thought that all of the years of experience that we had with our previous business, with the flipping and wholesale, subject to, and all that we just go into lending and straight out the gate, like we'll just have deals. Didn't work like that. No. Like we basically had to do the same things you're doing. Door knocking, the text messages, phone calls, networking. Basically started all over because we were just getting calls from people who knew us as being able to close on deals. Like, I'm going to give you this deal because I know you can close on it. Now we have to change that perspective to being able to be the ones that can fund the deal. And people just don't know you as that yet. So we essentially had to start over with that, so I totally feel it. We're definitely going through it right now, but you know, it's fun. It's fun going through it.
Like people knew, you know, my wife and I were in healthcare, so then to transition into real estate, it's like that's what they say. You have to get out there and let your whole sphere know. And so, getting my first deal was me putting on the little jacket, walking down the street, telling one of our neighbors, "Hey, I just got into real estate," giving them some business cards, and then they actually were like, well, you know, we're not thinking about buying or selling now, but there was a young couple that lived next door, and we don't know what happened to him, but the dad's coming every weekend, and he's just, like, cleaning up the house, fixing the house, and so that's how I got my first listing, was just letting my sphere know that I was in real estate, and then them saying, "Oh yeah, well I think this person might be selling."
Gotcha.
Nice. And I heard that your wife just transitioned into full time in her business too. So y'all doing really well.
Like, you got to make that transition, and then when it's ready, you just jump in there.
It's scary, but you just got to do
it.
Don't think about it. Just jump. Just do it. It'll work out.
Right. Okay, so let's get into your crazy story.
Yeah, because that's a great transition, because we just got into the first transaction.
Yes.
And from what I've been told, all of the craziness is about that first transaction. Yes. So let's get into it, man. How'd it go?
So the first transaction, they were like, "Hey, this guy's coming every weekend. It looks like he's getting the house ready to list." So my idea was to like catch him, talk to him about listing it, but he was in and out on the weekends, and so what I did was create like a pamphlet. And I did a CMA. I gave him like an estimate on what the property could sell for. Got it laminated. I think I spent like $10 at Office Depot. And then I just put it in the mailbox, you know, my name, number, everything like that. And then sure enough, he ended up calling and was like, "Hey, I got this. You think I could sell the house for X amount?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. Let's take a look at it." But when I went in there, it was a mess. Like, it was a mess. Like, and even the dad knew it was a mess. So he's like, the walls were a mess. But it was a beautiful house. It was 5-bedroom, like 4 bathrooms. It had a pool in the back. It was a beautiful house.
Whoa.
That's a good first listing.
Yeah. So what I thought, I was like, all right, this is good. Let's go.
Yeah.
But the couple was like separated. So the guy was like in jail somewhere. The girl was in Dallas. The dad was the one in charge of getting the house ready.
Jeez.
So every weekend he would come from Kingwood to Spring to, get the house ready. But they had like a rap studio upstairs where they like soundproof the whole thing. So he's like taking all the wood down, and the house it was like, he had to paint, he had to get it cleaned up. I mean, the house was in bad condition, but that wasn't really the hard part of the transaction. So once we decided to list it, the house was in forbearance because it was during COVID. And so essentially we learned that the couple split up. The guy went here, the girl went there. They didn't pay the house for like 3 or 4 months, and they were already...
Oh, man.
But they were in this forbearance because during COVID, they weren't doing anything, so they were just like, letting it stack up.
Right.
They didn't pay the HOA, they didn't pay the taxes, and so... Essentially, what I had to list the house for was right around $300,000, which is cheap now, but in 2020, that was the highest price house in the neighborhood, or it would have been.
Yeah.
And so we come up with the price. The dad's okay with fixing stuff early on, but then it becomes like a big money issue. Like, I'm not fixing this if she's gonna make that, and he's gonna do this. And
Goodness.
There was a lot of like family drama.
Yeah.
The tough part about it.
Oh,
jeez. So even with the forbearance thing, I think that goes back to like us and the time frame that we got started. Like, it was just such a big learning, because like, would it been your first transaction? Most people won't know to ask for, what's your payoff? Give me your principal plus give me the amount that included in that forbearance. And even now to this day, some people are still dealing with like that leftover from forbearance, and they don't realize it until the title gives them the actual payoff. Like, and sometimes that's like a few days before closing, depending on who your title company is, if they're not that great. And I can only imagine, like, if you wouldn't have known that and known to ask for those things, getting to that closing table, a hot mess.
So that rap studio above, walls, repairs, I'm not doing this if she's getting that, all of that on your first transaction.
Yeah, but
I feel like there's a weight, but there's more.
But there's a lot more.
Tell us more.
So essentially, what they owed wasn't that much because they had bought it 2 years prior, and then during COVID, everything was kind of going up. But I ended up talking to the previous owner because I was trying to run comps on the property, and there's like no other house in the neighborhood like it. Like it's the biggest house with the pool, and so it was hard to comp because it's the nicest, theoretically on. So the previous owner was like, oh, it's because it was supposed to have high ceilings in the living room, but I had them close it off, put a game room. We added an extra bedroom and an extra bathroom. And then they put the pool in. And so, pool with jacuzzi. And so, I'm like, this is a nice house. Yeah. But it was really hard to comp. So, we go ahead and put it on the market. The dad is okay starting off. He gets everything ready. We put it on the market. And all of a sudden, I get like a lot of traffic through it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then multiple offers on it. So, I'm like, oh, man, this is good.
Yeah.
It's just like, prices going up, so I think I had it needed to sell for $295 to pay what they owed on the loan, plus all the forbearance, plus the taxes, HOA, everything.
Gotcha.
And so I ended up getting an offer for like $305. I'm like, all right,
go.
You 10 up.
Look. Yeah. Put a bit in your pocket.
I'm like, good. Actually, that was the second offer. First offer was a showing from California, because at that time all these California people were
coming in. Man, yes.
So man, it was cash offer, asking price. The dude came over, looked at everything. Everything was good. So we went under contract. I'm like, all right, this is going well.
Yeah.
I want to say that was the year that everything froze up. So during the option period, we had a hard freeze in like 2020 or something.
Oh, yes. I remember that.
So with the pool, the dad went over there and like insulated everything. We kind of got the house ready. But for some reason, during the option period, a pipe burst right behind the refrigerator.
Oh, no.
So the pipe burst, and that's the day the inspector went over. So we're
my
during
God.
option. It was the inspection day. He goes over and he's like, man, there's like a pipe burst behind the refrigerator. There's all this like sheetrock damage. There was tile in the kitchen. So I mean, it didn't get too bad.
Yeah.
But that kind of, it gave him cold feet.
Right.
So all of a sudden he's like, well, no, I don't know. Like, if this happens all the time. And it was like
it's sexist.
Yeah,
it's sexist.
It's not...
Come on. Yeah, but I always like to look at the brighter side of things. At least it wasn't a pipe in the ceiling.
Yeah.
It was behind the refrigerator. Yes, and it was in a portion of the house that had tile.
Right.
Like, I mean, you know, looking at the brighter side of things. Okay, tell me more.
From the dad's standpoint, he was like, that's fine. I can cut out the sheetrock, insulate the pipe, replace the pipe, redo the baseboard. So it wasn't that bad.
Right.
Yeah.
But I lost that first contract just because of that.
Yeah.
So then when the second one came around, same thing. It was a good offer. We accepted it, went under contract, and then a couple of days, maybe like a week or so later, I got a letter from the appraiser, and it was this, oh man, what was it called? Like, and so I was like, what is this? So I asked my the people in my brokerage, like, hey, I'm getting this like weird letter from the appraiser, just saying like, I just want to let you know this house isn't going to appraise ahead of time. Like before he even went out there, they send a letter to you saying like,
I've never heard of that before.
Appraise.
I've never
and
heard
I had
of
never.
that.
I mean, obviously it's my first deal, but it was my first time getting that letter too. And ever since then, I've never gotten it.
Well, I was about to ask, was it legit?
It was legit, yeah.
But you remember, like, there was a lot of that going on during COVID, where appraisers were not going out.
Oh yeah, but
there was a lot of desktop.
I've never heard of an appraiser sending someone a letter saying, "Don't even worry about it. It's not going to appraise."
Yes.
I've never heard that.
I haven't seen it since. But yeah, there was a lot of like drive-by appraisals.
Yeah, right.
But this guy was just like straight up.
He didn't even...
Hey, before I even go out there or do like a drive-by appraisal, I just want to let you know it's not going to appraise.
I would have replied, so what will it appraise for?
Right? What can I get for this house?
Yeah. At least give me more information than that.
God.
So we had like a coach at the brokerage I was at, and she's like, all right, let's find comps, let's build this whole like paper, put it all together.
I've never heard of them, but
yeah. And so I'm like, she goes through and puts this like beautiful packet together with all these comps justifying why it should be priced.
Yeah.
Like, or why it would sell for at least asking price.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he comes, looks at it, and I want to say the house they offered $305 for it because it was listed at $295. He appraised it at $250. Like killed my deal. No
way.
Killed it.
What? $55,000?
Yeah.
Wow. Was it a FHA?
It wasn't.
Oh, okay.
It was a VA, which I don't want to put that like bad on them.
Yeah.
But it was a horrible.
No. I was asking that because with FHA it sticks with that's the only reason why I was asking. Yeah. Oh my God. So what happened from that? So
from that point, it just gets worse, right? Because then we're like,
worse than a $55,000 under appraisal.
I mean, it has to get worse because now you're stuck.
Oh, well, yeah.
You're like, man, I got multiple offers and people are willing to pay $295, $300, $305, but now my appraiser or the appraisal on is $250.
Yeah,
and I can't sell it for $250 because they owe more. I think they owe $260, $270.
Yeah,
and so then as a new agent, I'm like, man, what do I do now?
Yeah,
so I started looking into short sales. But man, so I'm like, first listing, family drama, bursted pipes,
rap studio,
short sales. So I'm just like going down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Anything to save a deal.
Yeah. You definitely got your experience worked out of this one.
Yeah.
Yes. And it was like the never ending deal that just I felt like took forever, and it was so emotionally like draining because it's just everything going on.
Yeah. So
you're learning as you're doing, basically.
Yes. Right. So were you able to go down the short sale rabbit hole and actually get it done?
I got into like, okay, let me learn about short sales and this and that, but there was a lady at our office who specialized in short sales.
Okay.
And so then I'm like, all right, let me pair up with her and essentially like I can learn how to do a short sale as she kind of guides me through it. But I had to like give her my listing. And I'm like, do I want to do this?
Yeah.
Do I not? So I tried to find an investor and to go ahead and pick it up for whatever they owed on it. But they're like, there's not a lot of meat on the bones. There's not a lot of money to be made. So I couldn't go that route.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like forced, all right, if it has to be a short sale, it has to be a short sale.
Yeah.
So I go with her, you know, she's like, she takes it over, uses all my listing pictures, description, like everything's done. It's a layup. Just puts her name on it, boom. And then we go through the whole, like, starting the short sale process of getting them to sign this paperwork, which is another hassle because the family.
Yeah.
Just like talking to the bank, the whole back and forth.
Yeah.
So then we end up getting, like, over time, I kind of, like, let go of the deal, let her do her thing. She's having people come over. It goes under contract. They did an appraisal, and it appraised at $300,000.
I am done.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So then they turn around and they're like, "Well, this can't be a short sale because it appraised at $300,000.
Oh.
So it needs to go back to a normal listing."
So were you able to get your listing back?
She didn't even offer you my listing back.
Oh my God.
Oh wow. You don't do.
Oh,
you know how I found out was at the end of the day, like, I get like a 20% referral. Like, and I got, oh wow, I actually got a little money off this house.
Yeah.
And then I go and I look on the MLS and I'm like, it sold for what I could have sold it
Right.
for, and it wasn't a short sale after all.
Oh, she should have done the right thing.
Yeah. So then I'm like, man, this is such a big discrepancy. How do you have a $50,000 appraisal difference?
Right. Oh, that's devastating.
Yeah.
For your first one, that's so discouraging.
But throughout that whole thing too, like, the pool was having issues, and the dad was like refusing to fix the pump on it. At the end of the deal, he took the mailbox because it had their last name on it.
Oh, come on, man.
God.
So people get really petty when it comes to real estate.
Yeah, for sure.
But
yeah.
The agent called me and she said, "Hey, did you know this listing didn't have a mailbox?" I'm like, it had a mailbox. I remember specifically it had their name on it.
Yeah.
Right.
But she was like, "Yeah, there's no mailbox here." My client just texted me asking me where the mailbox is.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
I was not expecting you to say it turned around and appraised. After you went down the short sale route, I thought we were just there.
Yeah. It continued.
Oh.
So after the short sale route, she keeps it and finds a buyer. And, oh, God. Okay.
Yeah, so we end up selling.
And he got his 20% referral fee instead of getting his full commission that he should have gotten because...
Which I worked really hard.
I can only imagine. Oh my God! I mean, in hindsight, being 2020,
is there?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm gonna hold my thought. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Is there a way that, like, you could have co-listed that or something? Like,
I mean, I'm sure he could have, but he was brand new.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Brand new, like, you know.
And then, I mean, she did take it over and she did try and do a lot of work on the short sale route until they were like, "Hey,
but so did you out in the beginning,
right? Yeah. Well, she used all of your stuff, like everything.
It was like magic. They just like took my listing and boom, put a name on it. I was like, I didn't even know you could do that because I didn't even like transfer anything on MLS.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Well, sorry that happened, but
I mean, I was talking to someone in my office and they're like, if you can get through this deal where everything happened, you're good.
Yeah, for sure.
Career, you're good 'cause it'll be easy.
Yeah, you dealt with almost everything. You dealt with divorce. You dealt with family issues. You dealt with something literally physically happened to the home the day of inspection.
Yeah.
You dealt with your first buyer dropping out. You dealt with short appraisal, $55,000 short appraisal. And then you dealt with dealing with someone else within the industry, a coworker or a colleague.
And a house that needed repairs. It sounds like it needed quite a bit of work on it.
I would have kept the rap studio.
Yeah, it was a soundproof room upstairs.
Yeah, because I thought about that because when you said that it was a rap studio upstairs, and then you start mentioning like all the paint, I'm just like, was it like a studio party house? Or like,
it was definitely a party house.
See,
because the neighbors were like, man, there's just people coming in all the time. And like they didn't like. The paint was all messed up. They had the soundproof upstairs. They were always like smoking and stuff.
Like a big house like that, studio, jacuzzi, and a pool. You think we're not gonna turn up?
Right. I listen to too many crime podcasts. The soundproof room doesn't really appeal to me. You lock someone up in there and you'll never hear from them again.
So I learned at the end of the deal because I still knew the neighbors, right? They're like, man, some investor bought it. And they turned it into an Airbnb because it is it's perfect as a party house. It has 5 bedrooms, a game room, the pool. So then they're like, man, every weekend we got people coming over and they're turning up in the backyard because there's a jacuzzi and a pool and you fit all kind of people in there.
And that's what I was going to say, hindsight being 2020, with that being the beginning of the pandemic, I could bet my bottom dollar that any investor would have like shot himself in the foot for passing up on that deal.
Yeah, because now,
if it was worth 300, then I can only imagine it has increased in equity at least 6 figures.
Now the little 1-story homes in the neighborhood are 300.
That's what I'm saying.
So that one is going to be, like you said, right around 4.
Exactly. And
it was a big saltwater pool with the jacuzzi. It had palm trees in the back.
Like, not the palm trees.
They spent like $60,000 on the pool because the original owners gave me all the paperwork for it.
Yeah.
And left all the paperwork.
And took the mailbox.
The second people took the mailbox. And I didn't know it's a federal crime to steal somebody's mailbox.
I didn't know
So then that agent was like, hey, there's no mailbox. And I was like, okay, he must have taken it because it had his name on it. And she's like, it's a federal crime to take a mailbox.
One hell of a mailbox, man. I'm telling you.
I didn't know it was a federal crime. I never wanted to steal a mailbox.
I've never heard of that.
I guess stealing mail could,
Yeah,
so you take the
but he took the whole thing.
At least give him like something. Put
put a bin or something. Look, to capture the mail.
Oh man, yeah, that's a crazy experience for sure, man.
Yeah. Well, hindsight being 2020, like I said, I can only imagine a lot of investors were shooting themselves in the foot for passing up on a deal like that, even seeing it listed before and now seeing what is work now. Sorry, it was a lot of lessons in there.
Yeah, for sure.
But what would you say the biggest lesson that you learned from that transaction?
Yeah.
I think, we know real estate's not easy, and people just look at you and they're like, oh yeah, you take pictures and list the house, and you make this money, and it looks easy, and everybody wants to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would say anyone starting out, you're gonna jump through all kind of hoops.
Yeah.
You're gonna do all kind of stuff, encounter all kind of situations to where it's not easy. You're gonna have to like learn how to think and how to maneuver through all these different situations, and you're not just the agent. You're also part inspector, part appraiser, part this, negotiator, therapist.
The family drama.
Yeah, the family drama, keeping everybody like in line and just to where we keep the thing going, because if you just let it stop, then it's dead.
Right.
So you're constantly trying to like keep the deal going, keep it alive.
Yeah.
But I think my biggest thing was if you can get through that, then you can get through anything.
Exactly.
I was going to ask you, like, of all the things that you went through on your first deal, like, how did that transition into, like, what you have going now? I mean, I'm pretty sure you kind of look at that deal.
My second deal was probably very similar to my first deal.
See?
Really?
Yeah. That's exactly why I asked that, because, like, it's a recurring thing. Like, it's like we always say in real estate, whether you're an investor, realtor, whatever, it's always something, right? I've never seen a deal just go smooth without a hitch. There's always at least a little bit of something that's going to go on. And you kind of learn from it, bringing it to the next deal, because it sounds like that's what you have to do. Like, you learn from that first one, and now we're coming up on the second one.
And it really helped on the second,
So what the heck happened with that one?
I would say there's some, like, when you go through those crazy, bumpy transactions, when you do get a deal that's, like, smooth, you're like, oh, this is it?
Yeah, like you're on the edge, like you waiting for the ball to drop.
Yes.
Like you're just expecting something to come out of nowhere. And so you're constantly like, okay, appraisal's ordered, inspection, okay, looking over this, you agreed to all this, okay, cool. And it's like, wow, this is flowing nicely versus this crazy like rodeo ride of a deal.
Yes.
I would say on the first deal, they say those who list last, right? And so with that listing, going through all that, I got a buyer off of it. Just from the sign, called HAR.
Nice.
I helped them find a house, and so I did at the end of the day make money off that. So the listing was worth it, and I got my 20% referral. So I kind of took that. Look on the bright side, and then move on to the next one. The next one was a door hanger thing. So I was just going around, doing the door hangers, and this guy calls me up, and he's like, hey, I need to sell my house. I'm like, okay, when you're looking? And he's like, I need to sell it like yesterday. And so I'm like, okay. So he's Spanish speaking only. I go talk to him, And on the other side is like a wholesaler, someone trying to get the house because he was already in like pre-foreclosure, foreclosure.
Right.
Yeah.
So they were coming to him and saying, "Hey, we'll pay off. If you owe $30K, we'll pay off the $30K, and we'll just take over your loan, so you don't have a foreclosure on your record, and you just walk away from the house." And he's like, "Man, this is sounding kind of good, you know?
Yeah.
They're gonna pay off everything I owe."
Dang, where was he? Well,
Subject
like,
to.
dang, where was he when I? Like, you
this
should
little-
pass it. No, just
the
kidding. I didn't know you.
subject to deal.
Okay, yeah.
This was, I feel like, before all that sub two.
No, so
or it might have been
Sub-2
around. It just wasn't as popular.
Yeah. So Sub-2's been around for a while. We actually purchased our first home,
Yeah.
like Sub-2, like our first personal home, Sub-2. And even before then, like we started doing our first Sub-2 in 2013.
No,
2012.
12, yeah.
Yeah, we
That was
done
the
our
first-
first Sub-2
yeah.
deal. So it's been around for a while.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
So this, so then I sit down with him and I'm like, all right, well, if we list your house at this, you can pay off the remaining mortgage. Same thing, HOA you owe, all the back taxes. It was almost the same situation. Like there was a divorce. They split up.
Yeah, man.
She took the dishwasher, the stove.
Oh,
the house was
what?
a mess. He got COVID, lost his job.
Oh,
And then he was like,
man.
I don't want to go back to the house because it's just bad memories
Right.
of a past relationship.
Plus, you have the hand wash dishes now. And
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, what
Like,
the
what is
heck?
this?
Who does that?
Yeah, so then I'm like, all right, I just went through this.
Yeah.
I can do this deal too.
Right.
Because it's almost very
Almost the
similar,
same,
you know.
right.
Yeah.
But he wasn't as upside down, so I told him, if we list for whatever it was, $245, pay off everything you got to pay, you'll walk away with $5,000. And that convinced him to not go with the other person.
Yeah.
And just go ahead and put it on the market.
Yeah.
So we did that, put it on the market. After a while, we ended up getting offers and going under contract from it's like an institutional buyer to where they
Gotcha.
buy the houses and they just rent them out.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was very similar, same thing. Full price offer. They paid for like closing. It was their title
Really?
company. I was like, okay, this sounds really good.
Yeah.
But then on the back end, he had a car lien attached to that.
See?
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
See?
It's always something, man.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
telling
always
you.
something. And so people were like, you can't have a car lien attached to the house. Somehow it did. The title company pulled everything, and his stepson, someone like that, crashed a brand new truck, and they attached that lien to the house.
To the
I mean,
house.
the only way I could think of it is if he put the house up as collateral or something. But who would put their house up?
For a
You'd
car.
be surprised.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised.
I mean,
Because this guy was like, I didn't know I had to pay the HOA. I thought that was in my monthly payment.
Okay.
the wife was handling everything.
Yeah, had
she
to have
probably
been.
was.
Yeah, for sure.
And he was an older gentleman, so then I had to go through and like print out papers, go have them sign, upload them.
You back in 1984.
Yeah.
And me, being used to all the DocuSign,
Right.
everything like that, I'm like, yeah, just give me your email. Oh, I don't have an email. I
Right.
don't even have internet.
Right.
I have to go.
Oh,
I'm like,
my
man,
God.
this is how they did it back in the day.
Yeah,
was
for real.
go have you sign, take it back, upload it.
Fax
Yes,
machine.
Yeah.
yes. I had a deal like that. Well, like what was it? Late last year, I had 2 deals like that. It was like older people, and like you said, none of them had email addresses. And then they're very like secretive with their social security numbers and stuff. But I'm like,
Yeah.
you have to write it down because I mean, And then you go to title and you think you have everything, and they're like, oh, this is missing this. I'm like, tell me everything I
Yeah.
need to know while I'm here
Right
because.
now.
Yeah, you're
I
gonna
have to make
drive
several
physically.
trips back over there to get things signed and filled out. So yeah, I totally know what you're
You
talking
become
about.
a courier.
And then you see the courier fee on there, and you're like,
Does that go to
who's
me?
paying this? Yeah, that should go to me.
Gas money.
I
Look,
know, man. Exactly.
gas is expensive.
Man, so were you able to work that out, like the Carlene thing, or?
So the deal with them fell through because of the car lien and him being upside down now. I was
Got
like, well,
it.
you were going to make 5 to 10. Now
Yeah.
you're negative 20.
Yeah. Ooh.
But then they ended up being able to, I gave him a lawyer, or he found a lawyer, and he ended up, getting the lawyer, paying the lawyer to like separate that out.
Oh, good.
Oh,
So
good,
once
okay.
we separated it out, I called them people back. I was like, hey, I have this house back on the market.
Yeah.
But it needs to sell for $245 instead of $240 or whatever. They're like, all right, we'll take it.
Nice.
But being in hindsight, like, man, they got that house for a great deal.
Oh.
Yeah,
like
now, yeah.
And I think these big institutions knew that, and they're
Right.
like, we're just gonna buy a rental property.
Whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No repairs. Like, I didn't have to worry about that. They paid a good amount of like the closing. Like, it would just sounded really good, and I was like, there's no reason why I shouldn't take this deal.
Right.
Took it, and then now, like I said, those little houses are probably 280, 290, 300 minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah,
they won at the end of the day.
They did.
They
After you went back and they were like, I mean, you were like, you got to get it for $245. They would have agreed to it. I'm like, well, $260.
I'm sorry, I meant $260.
I mean, I read the paper wrong. $265 is what I meant to say.
Yeah,
Look,
a lot of those institutions buyers, they came in during the time where the stock market was in turmoil. So a lot of those hedge funds people start buying up real estate as a hedge fund, hedge your bets to kind of offset those portfolios, man. So they were willing to just pay whatever just to get it, just to keep the books good.
Yeah. And then I think a lot of them, you know, you have all these experts and people that watch trends and everything. I think a lot of them were really just betting on the increase of like inflation and all that and increases in prices, and they bet right.
Yeah.
They bet
definitely.
right.
And then I kind of think it might not even be a bet. Like, they know that investing in real estate is gonna appreciate.
Yeah,
It's gonna
that's true.
appreciate.
And so they're like, man, this is like a sure thing. It doesn't matter what we buy it for now. If it's 240 or 260, give it 2 years, it'll be 300.
Right.
You're absolutely
And
right.
if they know that, I don't know why us as people, we just like hesitate so much to be like, I don't know, it might be overpriced during COVID, and I think people were thinking it's gonna drop out, and you're gonna like.
Yeah.
Remember that conversation I had at the high school? We were talking to the track coach, and he was telling me how everybody was paying these high prices because, you know, like during COVID, there was a period of time where you can list anything and it would sell, and you have a line wrapped around the street for showings and stuff like that. It's like, oh, these people overpaid. It's gonna be real funny when they all end up upside down. I'm like, first of all, we're in Houston. Like, we've been due for an increase for years. And that's just not going to happen. Like, if you're thinking, like, we're going to experience, like, this massive wave of foreclosure and everybody who bought is going to be upside down, you're going to be mistaken.
Yeah.
And you know that, like I said, like Jaquita said, about watching what everyone else is doing. When you see big institutions start buying up stuff, think they're going to purposely do that to be upside down?
No.
Heck no. They know what's going on.
Yeah.
And we see it now. We're like...
People are still like that. People are still waiting for that crash.
Still
And
waiting.
like 3 or 4 years later, and they're like, I don't know, I might wait because everything's going to fall through, and I'm going to get it for 180. I'm
Right.
like,
okay.
Right. And now look at them. Prices up and interest rates up.
Everything's up now. Yeah.
But no, I think you made an excellent point, because what I was saying was, like, you know, they bet on it and they won. But no, you're absolutely right. They just know, like, everyone should know real estate is like the best investment that you can ever make. And so they were just literally just investing. And I don't think, going back on what I said, I don't think they could have even imagined we would end up here.
Yeah, not like this.
Yeah. They won.
Because during that time, I had people who bought a house for $200,000 in a nice neighborhood, good school district. And man, they're so appreciative now.
Yeah.
They're like, dude, that was you're the best agent ever because you got me that house. It's such a good deal.
Right.
And it's a steal for them. And now if they were to sell it, it would be minimum $300,000.
Yep.
And so in
for sure
4 years, they made $100,000.
Right.
Yep.
Like,
and,
where else can you do that?
right. And they're probably not going to sell, because I'm sure they have a great interest rate.
Yeah.
So all of the people that listen to us good agents and actually bought, you know, around that time frame, they are sitting very pretty right now, because they didn't overpay. They have a whole lot of equity, and then they have a comfortable mortgage that they can actually afford because, you know, interest rates are low. But that's not to say now is not a good time to buy. We know this.
Yeah.
Like we just talked about. I mean, you always want to get in when you can, because it's always going to increase. You know, you want to start that home ownership as soon as you can, because the sooner you start it, the sooner you can start building that equity.
And I tell people, it's almost like gas. Like, your gas prices are going to keep going up, and people are like, oh, gas is expensive. You have to pay it.
Yeah.
Right.
And we can't go back to the days where it was 99 cents a gallon.
Exactly.
It's just not going to happen.
Exactly.
Like, you're thinking that a house, like, you're not going to buy it because it's 350 and you're waiting for it to go back to 250, but that's just not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's probably been going on forever.
Yeah, and I mean, we could put that on anything. We were just crawfish.
Yes,
we're talking about that.
I'm not eating crawfish because they're so expensive.
Yeah.
Man, when crawfish season first started this season, I mean, I think they started like $15 a pound. 15. And I was like, man, I'm not paying that, Marcus. I was like, Marcus, I really want some crawfish. Can we just get a couple pounds?
20 minutes later.
As long as they're selling them, I'm buying.
And then I got mad at everybody else. I'm like, they need to just stop paying these prices so they can lower the prices. But here I am. I'm paying them too.
Supply
like, you know.
and demand.
I told her, I was just like, you know those prices are never going down, right? I don't care
because they're like people are gonna pay it.
Yeah, why would you?
So even when the supply is up, they're not gonna go back down because now people are paying the prices. So
they kind of takes into like new home builders. I'm like,
construction.
Okay, you were limited with your supply, like the wood, everything was on back order. So then the prices every week. I remember every week it was going up. Hey, if you don't sign today, we have a price increase next week of 6%. And it was just. But now that the price is here, why would they drop it?
Yeah. Right.
Even if the lumber is now in full
exactly.
And it is. Stop buying a house.
Exactly.
Drop it.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense to do that.
Exactly. So you had a very crazy beginning to your real estate journey. And I think the lessons you learned have led you to become the realtor that you are now, which, I mean, I've heard amazing stories just being on the same team as you and just, being around you. So I think that you should let us know, like, what is the one thing you could tell anybody that is wanting to get started in real estate, want to become a realtor or anything in the real estate industry? What is the one piece of advice that you would give anyone that wants to get started?
I think educate yourself as much as possible. Like, honestly, and the podcast, YouTube, all the, like, Pace Morby, the subject to, like, you don't want to just get a license to do something and then just not know anything about it. So, like, I want to know everything about the mortgage, all the different kind of mortgages, if you can do the wraparound. Like, I had a guy who posted on Facebook or something, hey, I want to sell my house, but I bought it for this and I can only sell it for this, so I'm going to watch. And I'm like, well, you can do, like, owner financing. You can... there's all these different options that you can do. You can have someone, if you have a good interest rate, assume the loan if it's assumable, and people don't present these options to them. They just keep it like black and white. Well, I can list it. Like, well, anybody can do that. These are like your options. So I think just being knowledgeable and then comfortable because you have that knowledge.
Awesome.
Because the more you know, the more relaxed you are just talking about what it is, and people are like, okay, they know what they're talking about. They're not like a high pressure salesperson. Like, I'm not a salesperson at all. If I go to list the house, I'm like, hey, are you sure you want to sell it? Like, you can lease it out. This is your interest rate. You can make this much every month leasing it out. And they're like, I never thought about that. But a lot of times they end up listing it anyway. But I give them those options to where they're like, okay. I had one the other day. They have 2 rental properties. They want to buy another one. And I'm like, well, you can just use those 2 as income to buy your other house.
Exactly.
Because they wanted to sell one to buy. Well, you
you
could
have
do
to
that,
sell
but
it.
we could just and then I'm like, then you have assets and you're building like, you're building your portfolio essentially without even thinking about it. That was their first house, is their second house, now they want a third one. So I'm like, just lease them out.
Right.
Lease them out.
They're like,
pull out the equities about it. You got so many things you can do with that. But you got to be able to educate people.
And I love that. And I love that you said that, and you are a realtor because we deal with a lot of people in the industry, and not putting anyone down, but we deal with a lot of people that you could just tell that they don't have that education on the other side. Because, I mean, some of the things that we see coming from the other side of a transaction is just like, well, was that the right thing to do?
No, I've learned to appreciate working with another good agent.
Yes.
When they, like, answer the phone, when they email, just the professionalism in the email. If I get, like, almost like a text email, I'm like, that's not how you're supposed to do it.
Right. And you could just see them being a disservice to their clients, but you can't.
Had a deal recently where I had the listing, the financing fell through one time, then it fell through again, and so the second time I'm like, hey, I have a lender that could probably help you out, and the agent's like, no, we're good, and I'm like,
really?
I mean, if it doesn't hurt to get a second opinion, no, we're good. And so that deal fell through. So the third one came, sure enough, financing. And I'm like, oh man, like again, and my seller was like discouraged.
Yeah.
But I presented her the same option. Hey, I have this lender who says they can save deals. If you
Right.
want to give them a try. If not, they were going to lose their earnest money. They already lost their option. They already did the inspection, like everything. So she's like, all right, let's do it. Let's give it a shot. And then we gave it a shot. Lender came through. At the end of the day, like, she helped her client out, but the first or the second person just being so stubborn. I'm like, why would you not just get a second opinion from another lender if they can do it?
Because some agents, for whatever reason, feel like it's you against them. But no, when you're working on a transaction, it's all of us working together to get to the closing table. Yeah, so it's not ever you against them. Like, okay, it's the buyer against the seller. No, it's never that. It is everyone, the buyer, the seller, and both agents working together to get that transaction to the closing table. Because at the end of the day, what you want to happen is that seller wants to sell their home and the buyer wants to buy the home.
Yeah. Right.
And I mean, we're just there to guide them through the transaction, right? So
And I feel like that's what ended up happening is she went with the lender, like we could talk on every other day, like, hey, how's it going? And we worked together to get the buyer and seller because they wanted the house and we wanted to sell it.
Right.
It's just like getting to the closing table.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
No, I mean, I think that's it. I think just real estate is, it's fun, it's rewarding, it's tough. You are dealing with a lot of people, a lot of personalities. But you have to have that heart to want to help people, either on the selling side or the buying side.
That is absolutely
correct. And then
correct.
the knowledge to actually help them too.
All right.
So because we talked in the beginning of this amazing story, we talked about a little bit about social media, and I always like to, plug people. So how can people find you if they want to reach out to you, learn from you, buy or sell from you?
Definitely reach out for that. Definitely reach out to him for that.
How can they contact you?
It's Francisco Martinez Realtor on Instagram.
Gotcha.
Same thing on Facebook.
Nice.
Usually I'm on Instagram more than anything. I haven't really gotten into TikTok just yet. That's something that I'm like, all right, I'll give it a try. But I feel like I'm not even old, but I'm like, I'm older. It's a younger generation. But that is the goal for this year is just to like be more active on social media. Because before in healthcare, I didn't have to worry about it. I went, wake up, go to work, like help and serve people, go home, done.
Yeah.
And so now this is the same thing, but people actually like, you want to show that you're helping and serving.
Exactly.
And we do it every day. It's just we don't really like show it.
Right.
And so I have to like change my mindset to where I'm like, okay, this is what I'm doing today. Let me show people how I'm helping other people.
Right.
And I really have to get in the habit of that.
Yeah.
Man.
So, Francisco.
Yeah, man. Francisco Martinez, man. Like this. I like your story, man. I like what you've been doing.
Because I just went through everything.
Yeah. So it's one of those situations like, why me? But yours is definitely why not you? Because you definitely turned that around, man.
Yeah, you definitely overcame everything that they threw at you, for sure.
Yeah, man. So that's it for this one. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Awesome.
That was good.